as I'm sat there just after a bloody fucking wipes, opened the door slowly and in comes a fucking man.
Not to hoot my own trumpet.
I don't want to toot my own horn.
No, I don't want to
hoot my own trumpet.
Oh no, because I got it confused because I also said hold the horn.
Welcome to That's So Gay, the podcast where we celebrate, talk about and unpack all things queer. I'm Frankie and I'm here with my co-hosts Poppy, Lucy and Katie. Together, we're four friends who met online, bonded over our chaotic group chats and decided to hit record so you can join the conversation too. Every week, we'll dive into the highs and lows of queer life in 2025, from identity and community to dating disasters, pop culture moments and the unhinged stories that make us laugh until we cry.
In today's episode, we welcome our two resident Mascs, Taryn and Tink, to join us for conversations about toilet horror stories and gender non-conformity.
Whether you're gay, queer, questioning or just curious, grab a drink, get comfy and let's get into it.
One thing I've been really loving this week and last week is the GC, the group chat. We've got to support the show. After we went live with that first episode, obviously we made a group chat because it's just lovely for us to be able to discuss with our friends podcast topics and get to hear ideas and things like that from a really diverse mix of people. But what's been really cool is that some friends that we've made, from past groups and TikToks and Instagram chats and whatever have joined. And now we've got new people who are joining as well because they've heard the show or they've seen us talk about it on TikTok. And I'm absolutely loving that we're just getting this really like-minded group of queer women and non-binary people. And it just feels really supportive and lovely. And I don't know about you guys, but I have been glued to the group chat. I was meant to crochet this weekend, right? I have done none. My screen time is up. My crochet hooks are gathering dust. I am doing nothing apart from yapping and I'm loving every second of it. If you're listening, by the way, please join.
Yes, join our group chat. I've been exactly the same. I did a 12-hour shift today and I swear I spent 6 hours of it on my phone.
I literally forgot you're working. So for the chat, Katie's job is involves, she's on a ship entertaining children. And yet I forgot she was at work because she was just yapping all day.
I literally sent them a little gif of me trying on one of the mascot costumes that I have to wear, which is a little wizard, like a wizard hat. And was but actually, I just can't pull away from my phone. Anytime that I'm not down with the actual kids entertaining them, I back up and I'm like, what's going on?
When you're not physically down with the kids, you're on your phone trying to be down with the kids because you're so cool.
Yeah, I've got to be down with the kids. I am one of the younger ones after all.
Yeah,
so
you are the kid.
You should be down with me, actually. Not to hoot my own trumpet.
I don't want to toot my own horn.
No, I don't want to
hoot my own trumpet.
Oh, no, because I got it confused because I also said hold the horn. So I've got them all confused.
Can I ask?
Hey, wait.
How do you see your phone through that head thing? How do you actually view your text? I can't see it being easy.
Well, I'm not texting while I'm in the costume. I'm texting
hey kids, let's just check my text. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine? The hands are literally massive.
Did you think Katie wasn't actually doing this for a job and was actually just a furry?
Oh, yeah.
No, we're not coming into furries, I beg. No,
would dictate that she's...
We're not kink shaming. It's just this relates to a very personal story from someone here that probably doesn't need to be discussed, but we're not kink shaming before anyone thinks we are, because we're not.
No, not kink shaming, just...
if we get to 1,000 podcast followers, maybe we'll reveal something about one of our stories.
Yeah. I'll tell you what,
is that too high? No, we should go.
No, if we get to 1,000 podcast listeners, I will share my story.
Okay, you heard it here first, guys.
About what though?
Katie B, the story of the century.
It involves a furry.
And what specifically though?
Robbery. And that's all for today, folks.
Did it happen at night or did it happen at day? Because that would be daylight robbery.
Oh God.
So last week, or last episode anyway, we talked about baby organs.
Yeah.
So I've now been told babies don't have kneecaps until they're 6 years old or something.
Before the age of 6.
How do they crawl if they ain't got no knees? I don't get it.
They just don't have a solid sort of knee cap. It's sort of squishy.
It's like their skull, isn't it? They don't have a skull, like in certain areas.
Man.
No, in certain areas they don't have a skull. It's like there's holes in their skull, isn't there? That's why they have the soft bit.
You have a hole in your skull.
Right, listen.
No, I can't.
There is.
No, they have like a hole at the top of their head because the skull bits haven't gone like fused yet. But it's not like
That's
they're a
what I mean.
sponge with loads of little holes all over it like a crumpet.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh,
Do you know, I
that's
never watched
exactly.
that.
be.
Live, laugh, lobotomy.
Wow.
I need a fucking lobotomy. Sorry.
I had a bloody lobotomy after my recent experience that I wanted to share because I shared it with the chat and I just feel like the rest of the audience need to know because if I'm going to go through an embarrassment like this, I've got to try and make something out of it. So you guys know this. It was the train carriage story the other day.
Tell us it again.
Fuck's sake. It was a really sunny... I was at the scene. It was a beautiful sunny day in London and I was thinking, do you know what? I'll wear a jumpsuit because that's nice and breezy and whatever. We all know if you wear a jumpsuit, whenever you go to the loo, you've got to get fully naked and you do feel a bit weird. Anyway, on the way back from
Did you
work...
have a bra on?
I did have a bra on, yeah, but that was all I had on when this happened. So... I was on the train coming back from work, didn't want to get on the train toilet, but, you know, needs must. So I went and got in it. And it was that sliding door one, you know, it's like circular, you press a button, it goes like... So I went in there, shut the door, sat down, thought I'd pressed the lock button. It wasn't till I was sat there, completely naked like a fucking blancmange, because my jumpsuit's by my ankles, that I realised the lock thing was flashing. And I was like, does that mean it's locked? Or does that mean it's not locked? I didn't want to press it in case it unlocked, so I decided it must be fine. What's the worst that can bloody happen? Anyway, as I'm sat there, just after a bloody fucking wipes, open the door slowly, and in comes a fucking man. I scream, he screams. Problem is, there's not even a corner to hide in these loos. They're like circular. So I sort of scurried under the hand dryer, like a I don't know, like some sort of terrified shrew. Then I went over to the door, grabbed it with my hand, and tried to claw it across like a. Meanwhile, he was going, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, I'm really sorry, I'm so sorry. And everyone was just really sorry. And it was very British and embarrassing for everyone involved. I stayed in there for 10 minutes and I wouldn't come out until, several stops later.
And he's probably dying for a piss.
Oh my God. Poor Gary.
Oh, God.
Is he called Gary now? Is his name Gary?
Gary.
My God.
Just like the doors like, tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be pissing.
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be pissing. I also have a similar toilet story.
Go on, Lucy.
I have a similar toilet story. I'm already very drunk. I'm on the wino today.
Oh no.
Hey.
Rosé from Liddell.
Ooh,
so
Liddell.
I was in London and I was in the loo, came out, and there was just a big queue of people, and they the women looked over at me and was just like, what's going on? I thought, because I was like, oh no, I'm getting like clocked or something's going to happen, you know. And one of them just came over to me, and you know, in that split second, like it slowed down, like time slowed down. I was like, oh my God, here we go. And she just went, your dress is tucked into your pants on the back. And my dress had been tucked into my pants. And I bent over.
Why?
And my dress was tight because you know when sinks are low, so I was washing my hands in the sink, and I'd full Anyway, to be honest, I'd rather that happen than the other thing. But I came out of it and I was like, well, they all got a show. They should have paid me, shouldn't they? But that was quite traumatizing. I mean, it's traumatizing, but at the same time, I try and ride it.
You've got to really, haven't you? I mean, what can you do in that situation?
Oh my God!
It was
just ride it.
The toilet. I had no excuse, no choice. Sorry, I had no choice but to just say sorry and hope that he would vanish. Like, what can you do?
Try having short hair and dressing like a 12-year-old boy going into female toilets.
Oh God, yes.
That's when you get the little old ladies come in and they just clock you and they're like, in the right toilets? And I'm like, yes, love, I've got massive tits.
Do you remember when you sent us a message in the chat and you were like, there's this thing in the toilet, and I thought it was like a soothing balm for my
For
bum.
fuck's sake. No, I thought it was a... No, right, listen.
Do
you want me to explain,
yes.
or are you going to?
Yes, we need it.
Oh, for goodness sake. So I don't know where I'd been, somewhere with Poppy, and I was on my way home, and I was in Westfield in London, and I ran to the loo because needed a wee-wee. Anyway, ran into these toilets, and there was this thing on the wall, and I was like, oh my God, it's like a cleaner for your bum. Like, how fun. You never get that in public toilets. That's so hygienic. Anyway, so didn't look at anything properly. I just got this stuff, right, on some toilet paper and just wipedy. And then I found my bum hole was stinging. And I'm not joking. It was like I had just put
a Vindaloo.
Literally.
Wasn't it like toilet cleaner?
No, so it was like a cleaner for the toilet seat that you can wipe down the toilet seat for. But I didn't realise until after my bumhole was already burning, and then I looked at the symbols and was like, hang on a second, shit, shouldn't have put this on my bum.
Can I just ask, you said, you don't normally get bum cleaner in a public toilet. Sorry, where are you finding bum cleaner in a toilet, and what is that?
Just was so pleasantly surprised, and then I was so hurt physically.
Oh, babe.
Oh.
God,
Maybe that's
Did you give that
recover.
toilet a 1-star review?
I should have done, honestly. Make the labels bigger. Some of us are blind.
Mark it in for rim ringer. Flush the toilet. Flush the toilet. Flush the rim on the toilet.
Oh, don't, honestly.
Try having short hair and dressing like a 12-year-old boy going into female toilets.
Oh, God, yes.
That's when you get the little old ladies come in and they just clock you and they're like, am I in the right toilets? And I'm like, yes, love, I've got massive tits.
Yes.
Look at them.
Yes.
Tink, have you ever had an experience where, like, someone's been with you in a loo because they've been like, are you in the right loo?
Always. Like, even just walking down the street, like when you asked earlier on about like what's the weird thing that's happened to you this week or something like that, and like today I was just walking the dogs, and I put this in the chat as well. I was just walking past like a regular guy, you know where I live, it's like very sort of working class, let's say. We're all very working class where I am, and I love it. Actually, I love where I live. It's a great place, but obviously you do get, there's a lot of St George's crosses everywhere, put it that way. So I'm very much out of my depth in that, and I see them all the time, and I'm like, oh, am I safe? I'm like, well, no one bothers me or anything like that, but I was walking Fred down the road just from the shop, and this guy stood out the front of his terrace house, about 50 years old, you know what I mean? Had a skinhead, just stood there like enjoying the moment in life and stuff like that. And he looked at me and in a certain way, and I was just like, okay, let's be nice. Let's kind of like let on to him. So I let on to him, and he let on to me, but he kind of like grimaced in his face at the same time, because I do walk around like a very obviously like very butch lesbian, do you know what I mean? Like I'm wearing a muscle top and like shorts, and I'm just like walking this like little whippet around, like, it's not something you see every day, so it is a bit of a shock to people. I get that, but I was just like, oh, can't sound, he let on to me, fair enough, I'll just walk past and do whatever. And as I walked past, like instantly hocked up a loogie and spat it on the floor, and I was like, was that for me? Or was that for just because he needed to do it? Do you know what I mean? And it was a bit like, I could take that either way. I'm not arsed either way, but, it's very much like a lot of,
behaviour.
you get a lot of people like just giving you that sort of mentality, like they're not really big enough to kind of do anything or say anything, but you can see in their eyes and you can see the way they look at you, like, what the fuck is this? And every time we go into the toilets and things like that, you get women doing it as well. Like, you can see the grimace. Sometimes I'll just be like, you know what, I'm not in the mood for it. But other times I'll just be obnoxious as fuck and be like, hi, how are you? Are you okay today? And they're just like, oh my God, why are you talking to me? Please leave me alone. And I'm just like, no, are you good? Are you good? And, you know, no one's ever said anything to me, though, to be fair. They don't say anything, but, you know, if looks could kill, I would have been dead about 18,000 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taryn,
It's like some of them just instantly think that, like, they can't. I wouldn't say that they feel threatened, but it's like, oh my God, are they looking at me? And I'm like, no, love, I just really needed a wee.
Yeah, you're really not all that. Like, get a grip, basically, innit?
Do you guys ever find as well, you know, we were talking last episode, we loosely touched on how, like, sometimes, you know, there's stereotypes and labels and things like that. Now, obviously, what's really interesting, I think, that we mentioned earlier when we were talking, is that sometimes, you know, relationships that you've been in with, Tink, like, you've had it where people have sort of treated you like a bloke and, like, almost expected you. This is like, you know, when you've dated women, they've sort of maybe not said, you know, act like a guy, but the intonation is, you know, you should take on a certain role, or you should act a certain way, or you shouldn't maybe feel a certain thing. And I wondered if you and Taryn had any experiences on that.
I'll let you go first.
Okay, thank you. Actually, this is a really good topic to focus on, because I was thinking about it today, and just thinking about my long-term relationships and previous people I'd seen and, like, you know, had, let's say, smaller relationships with, or less timely. I realised that I'd never actually had a long-term relationship with an actual lesbian, and it's funny I say that, because the people that I've actually dated or, like, had long-term relationships with all told me that they were lesbians. And, like, my first long-term relationship, who I've got my dogs with, my little Freddie and my little Scooby, I was talking about before, like, we did the whole, like, she came out to her parents, we went for dinner, and we did this whole thing, and it was, like, very stressful for her and things like that. But, you know, I spent the whole relationship together, you know, obviously thinking she was a lesbian, but as soon as we broke up, she got with a man, and it was, like, very very jarring for me to try and be like, well, I don't understand this whole, you know, this whole, like, situation that we went through that was so, like, traumatic for you to come out to your parents and things like that. And don't get me wrong, she dated girls before me and everything like that. It wasn't anything new for her, but, you know, she decided that I was the person she was going to come out to her parents with. But for that to be the case, and then to go back to a man after the fact, it was just very, like, I don't understand. What were you a lesbian, or were you just saying that while we were together, you know? And it was very
I've had that with 2 or maybe 3 of my exes.
Yeah.
They've gone to men after me.
Yeah, and I don't think you guys are the only two. I've definitely heard this kind of sort of thing happening. You know, like, a lot of mascs say, oh, you know, they've got really bad experiences dating women because they're either, you know, a lot of the time they get cheated on with guys or left for a guy, and it can really mess with your self-esteem. And it's not saying people can't and shouldn't be able to go and get with whoever they bloody want to, but I do hear it as a pattern, which is quite interesting.
Well, another thing I was thinking about today was any girl I have dated, have had a long-term relationship with, or have seen in any sort of capacity, really, like, for, you know, something that you would call substantial, has always gone to a guy afterwards. Whether they, you know, and I've actually not dated bisexuals really either. Like, I've never actually dated.
I like to think that they can't get a girl better than us, so they have to resort back to men.
You also think, though, that this is partially because there's been that thing with Becca Moore and Shannon, what's her name? But basically that people, like, go back to men because they ultimately go back to seeing their future having kids with a man.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying, like, they go back to leaning on those heteronormative views and values that kind of, yeah.
So they're safe
in that respect, especially from a family perspective and from society perspective. Men are safe, and that's something that I'm very aware of in my experience as well. But I mean, I was in a relationship with someone who was getting married to a man who I found out, like, after, like, 6 months, was dating him at the same time. And was actually engaged to him, you know what I mean? It's like, so, you know, my experience of girls who obviously don't understand where they're at in their sexual orientation, or might just be bisexual, but, you know, haven't really pinned it down. Maybe they're just, you know, not people who are very monogamous, perhaps. But what I have found is that a lot of girls who have these pressures of society on them, which was always a common theme in the people I'm referring to, it tends to make them fold instead of fight. And they fold to the heteronormative way because it's so much easier to be straight than it is to be gay. You know what I mean?
Does that kind of, or has that ever made you feel like, great, am I just a test run or something like that? Because I feel like I would feel like that, and I don't know if that's the case for you guys.
Oh yeah, I felt like that before.
Have you? That must make you feel so like awful in yourself.
Yeah, it puts you right down because you think, well, was I not good enough for you?
Yeah. And you know, I feel like a holiday that someone's a tourist on, if that makes sense. You know, and they're just here to have an experience, and then once they've had it, they can go away and, you know.
Yeah. And for me, on that note, is something I want to touch on about like people using the word lesbian, but maybe that isn't actually who they are, because it's okay to be other things within the queer umbrella, bisexual, pansexual. My God, there's so many, and it's absolutely fine to be any of them. But when people use that as a term that isn't actually who they are, it actually diminishes what it means for those of us who are lesbian. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it's sort of, it can perpetuate the narrative that, oh, they say they're gay, but they're probably going to end up with a bloke. Do you know what I mean? And that's so damaging for so many reasons when we have to fight for people to take us seriously all the time anyway. So I often think, oh God, I just wish people sometimes didn't use the phrase flippantly if they aren't actually only into women, because of, you know, of the damaging effect it can have.
Like I was going to say, it's like, it's not that, like, some lesbians are against dating bisexual women because then you're like, oh, you've got to worry about the men too. But it's always, if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat.
Very true, very true.
Whether it's with a man or a woman.
In terms of the gender stuff, though, I find quite interesting. People that I've spoken to have said, you know, in times when they've dated certain people, they really had this kind of male expectation put on them. Like, you'll pick up the bill, or maybe you're always going to do the driving, or,
Yes.
you know, expect their emotional needs to be more important than yours, because men in kind of traditional society aren't allowed to be those things. And that sort of gets put on you guys. So I wonder if that's ever happened to you.
Yes, actually, more so than I would like to admit. Like, there's this prerequisite to not feeling emotions and to always carrying the burden of like the higher stresses of things, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to put it into words. It's almost like
Mascs have feelings too.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Like, we are girls, and the thing is, like, we are girls, and for me, like, whenever I've been with someone who I found out after the fact is obviously bisexual, it's almost like they come to us because they've got this, you know, they might feel like they're attracted to women. They come to us and they've got this like sense of masculinity, which is obviously probably most toxic because patriarchy obviously always is going to push that on everyone. And their idea of what a man or a masculine person is the idea of like a normal man. And we're not that. We're women as well. And we have feelings, you know, just like men have. But men are taught to not feel their feelings. Most lesbians are not taught to feel their feelings. Kind of like copy the fact that men aren't supposed to feel their feelings. And they sit into this ideology of becoming a man, but with a vagina. And that's not the way that it is. We are women too. And we are women. And this is the thing. Like, as soon as like these girls have realised that, or like come to us like from a masculine perspective, and they realise that we are actually women, that's when they tend to run away, in my experience, you know what I mean? And it's very much like, well, what is it that you want then? Is, you know?
And it kind of taps into the toxic masculinity we touched on in the last episode, because in that episode we were saying that we're not saying masculine people are toxic. We're not saying that a man is toxic. We're talking about the concept of toxic masculinity. So it affects men because, you know, they're raised to sort of think, right, can't speak about emotions, can't be vulnerable, got to provide, be strong, etc. And then because of the way that society can push that onto masculine presenting people, that can sometimes be something that people end up feeling like, whether they want to or not, subconsciously, because that's what society does, or their partners can push those sort of notions on them. So actually it's really damaging for all genders and people. Toxic masculinity, even though it's called that, I definitely don't think it's only present in masc presenting people.
Yeah. This is the thing.
Can I just...
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Tink. I was just going to say that just identifying what you were saying just then, but kind of from the opposite angle, which is that obviously I'm AMAB, and coming into transitioning, but there's all sorts of things associated with that as well, because it's like, I think before I transitioned, there was a sense almost that I had to be more masculine in my role, and like I felt really like uncomfortable about being in any way feminine, but you can't fight it. Like, my brain is literally wired differently to my body. That is what gender incongruence is, and it's something that is medically diagnosed. And when you go on estrogen or you go on testosterone, you feel a million times better. There's a very small rate of people that don't, but they are very, very, very small. And now I feel amazing, but there's this thing again of like coming into the queer space and like all these different relationships and different things that people have. And again, there's sort of this, I feel personally like the relationship for me is someone who is bi, but then I feel like there's, and like you mentioned that thing about sort of sometimes feeling like you're a bit of a stopover, like, you're the stopgap between the really serious things. I identify that totally. I think people, sometimes I feel like people don't take me seriously enough, or like, like there's that feeling of like not feeling like you're being, it's not loved, it's like loved in the relationship sense. I think sometimes you're a bit of a quirk, or you're like, and I get that sense. So just coming back to that, you of course, I just wanted to add that.
It's almost like anybody who's out of the norms of binary, like traditions or norms, kind of, it seems, can end up feeling like that. So for example, me, Katie and Poppy, we're assigned female at birth, we're femme presenting. So, but then we've got people assigned female at birth who are more masculine presenting, and assigned male at birth who's more femme presenting. I think it's people who are outside those normal sort of typical things that maybe society, the masses expect, who maybe end up feeling that sort of, I'm not being taken seriously, etc., which is definitely something that needs to be talked about more, because I imagine there's so many people in that boat and it's not okay. Taryn, sorry, I was about to say, have you got any more thoughts? I was going to
say that any person that has gave anyone grief, whether it be because they're masc presenting, whether it's being because they're trans as well, I feel like anyone who has anything to say about them doesn't have anyone who fits that category in their family. So they don't know how to like be or what to say, and they've got their own opinions, which are like, nah, you're wrong.
Agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which is, if they do have someone in their family, I feel sorry for them. If they've got someone in their family that's phobic, I'll just say phobic rather than going through the many, many terms.
Just something to touch on again is that we were talking about, I think there's almost a sense of like, oh, we're really grateful for the space. Thank you so much, patriarchy, for giving us this space. Therefore, we'll try and sometimes subconsciously just fit these roles, like the points raised, like, oh, I'll fit into a slightly more masculine role because I want to present this way, or I feel comfortable this way. And it's like, or, oh, I'm a trans friend, so I naturally am this way and this way and this way, and I'm into straight men. And it's like, no, I'm not. It's what we touched on last week. It's just, I think there's like, it's almost like, okay, so you're queer, so which pigeonhole do you go into now? Where do we put you now?
Exactly.
Where,
it's the
like,
boxes.
This is that whole thing about stepping outside of your house every day, and you are non-conforming in lots of respects, but there is a pressure on all of us to conform all of the time.
And this is actually something I want to touch on. As much as labels help you identify who you are, they can also be really detrimental to everyone, like such as in my experience. people called themselves lesbians when they weren't. They just didn't know where they were in their journey. And it's very much the same for a lot of people who think they're one way, and then, 3 or 4 or 5 years later realize that they're not that way. And it's okay to explore your sexuality or explore your gender and explore like what it is that makes you you. But because we are so fixated in labeling things, it really detriments people's experience, because it's almost like people are saying to you, you have to identify as something. And it's like, well, no, I'm just me. Can I not just be me? And I am the way that I am. And in that umbrella, like, obviously you get such a diversion of different people. And as myself, I know now that I'm a lesbian. Like, when I was a preteen, I wanted to be a boy. Like, I didn't actually know what trans was or anything like that, but I grew up as a boy. I wore boys' clothes. Like, my dad was very, perhaps it's because I was masculine. I think if I was a girl, a boy, and I wanted to be feminine, he wouldn't be very happy with it. But because I was a girl and wanted to be masculine, he allowed me to wear boys' clothes. I always lived in boys' clothes. I thought I was going to grow up to be a man. I used to look at myself in the mirror and be very much like, oh my God, I could be a boy. I used to tie my hair back and things like that. And I was very much in this space of I'm a boy. I used to take my shirt off when it was hot in summer, and I used to play football with the boys and all of these things. And, it was very good that I got to express that side of my gender. And then I hit puberty and I got all of the hormones and things like that. And for me, I realised that I'm just a very masculine kind of girl. And that was a great thing. It was absolutely fabulous. I sat into my femininity as well. For a lot of my life, I was thinking, I should be this masculine presenting version of myself. But when I accepted the side of my femininity as well, it helped me become a more balanced person. And this is something that a lot of people miss in all genders, because men have masculine and feminine sides too. Women have masculine and feminine sides too. And in order to be a whole part of ourselves, we need to accept both sides of that, and no side of that is wrong or right. It's just the case of it's okay to have both. And this is the binary system that we live in, where it's like, if you're a man, you need to be masculine, and if you're a woman, you need to be feminine. And it's just not fucking true. Absolutely horseshit.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Just soon, the government, the law will say potentially that I am no longer allowed in women's spaces. I'm no longer allowed to be calling myself a lesbian. I'm no longer allowed in the eyes of TERFS to be able to say I am a woman and I am a lesbian. And it's just, it all feeds in. It's all together, this whole thing. It's we just want to exist. We want to feel comfortable. Society works better when people are allowed to express themselves. And yet there are people out there, patriarchy, men, predominantly men,
yes,
out there, or just people in very high positions who want to say, no, you have to go into certain pigeonholes. No, you cannot just walk out in the street and say I'm gender fluid, or I just don't, I'm two-spirited, or I just go by they, them. They, them isn't even in law recognised as a pronoun or a identity, a gender identity, so that says a lot about, yes, there's still a lot of work we have to do, but at the same time, sometimes it feels like we're going backwards, and this is why it's so important that we talk about these topics.
For me, what's really frustrating is I just don't understand why people don't have the notion. You don't need to understand absolutely everything to be a respectful and decent human. I don't understand why, what harm it would do from the government and whatnot to make they, them a legal gender identity term or pronoun or, you know, on the official documents, it would not cause any great chaos, let's face it, apart from making people feel really comfortable and validated. It's almost like it's a quick thing that's going to make a minority group feel great. It's not going to change everything for the whole country. No one needs to have a panic. I don't want to be seen as like diminishing mental health conditions, especially because I also have been through panic attacks myself. But do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be that way, and I just don't understand it. And it's the same thing, you know. I was speaking to my mum the other day. You don't, you know, she'd said to me in the past, if she doesn't understand something, doesn't mean she wouldn't be respectful. She'd always call somebody the name they said they were, the pronoun they said they wanted. And meanwhile, educate herself quietly in the background. Like, I don't know why everyone can't do that. It's basic human respect.
I feel like something else is like, for me, is these people who have these really, really strong opinions, it actually has zero impact on them. And they probably actually don't know anybody who is trans, non-binary or not gender conforming. There is literally no reason for them to have such a strong opinion. They just want to hate for the sake of hating. It's pathetic.
It's like the whole thing that's in the news about the whole trans community. It always seems to be against trans women. It's like,
it's the feminising of men.
But is there anything ever said about trans men?
No, because
it's femininity. You know, and I know, it's femininity. And that's what it is.
It's just so clear to see, like, that it's because, and, you know, I'm sure that some of the viewers or listeners are going to disagree with this, but it's because since the dawn of time, women have been kept at the bottom, and trans women, well, they can't serve the patriarchy. Let's villainize them. Let's make them this. Let's make them that. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, unless I've not seen it, but it's like, you don't really see much hate. Well, I say hate, but like a political ways about trans men. It's like, do they just now say, well, you're a man now, you're one of us?
Yeah, and of course it still happens. We're not saying life is easy for trans men either, of course. Just in mainstream media, I think we're sort of talking about.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things I want to touch on, and building on what we were just saying there. One is that yes, the conversations that I have had with people who are no longer friends, but also online, is this sense of you're a trans woman, so you're basically denouncing your privilege. Like, and yeah, I am denouncing. I don't, you know, I think if anyone could choose to not have to wake up every morning and think, am I going to be able to access my hormones tomorrow? Am I going to be kicked out of this space next? You know, or am I going to get beaten up or potentially, like, you know, unalive by someone? You know, like that kind of stuff. That rhetoric and that shit is just always going on. Of course I would choose that. But I cannot, because I cannot live as a happy person. And I've had therapy. I've been through all of this stuff. And this is my happiest that I've ever been. And I'm sure it's the same for everyone in this group, that we are happiest when we can present as our true selves.
Exactly.
Love those people that we want to love. And that's what's most important.
Absolutely. And the more happy we are as... Oh, sorry, guys.
Go.
I said you just to you.
Fucking hell.
We'll get to it so time. Go on, Taryn.
I just said, like, you just want to be you, and that's what you deserve to be.
Yeah. On the back of that as well, like, this whole rhetoric around trans women in bathrooms, and again, in my opinion, it's just an attack on femininity. What the patriarchy hates is the feminine. Yeah, regardless of what, you know, gender you're assigned at birth or anything like that. It's the fact that you are feminine. They don't like it. For me, men are always accepting of me because I present masculine, so they treat me like one of the boys, and it's absolutely fucking awful, and I have to sit there and listen to the shit that they come out with, like, as a woman, but as a man, and I'm doing inverted quotations here, like, they treat me like another man, and I'm like, I don't want to listen to the shit that you're coming out with. Do you know what I mean? And it is as much as, like, all of these people will say, oh, you know, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, men hate femininity, and that is inherently what it is. I had something else to say, but I completely forgot about it, so I'll come back to it.
I totally get what you're saying. It's like, men see it as like, oh my god, like, if a girl, you know, an assigned female at birth person transitions to become, you know, a man, or, you know, you're a masc presenting person, men can kind of go, oh, well, you want to be one of the boys, fab, why wouldn't you be? But if someone goes away from that, it's almost like, oh, what's wrong with you? Let's be horrible and like have all these notions. It's almost like, oh, you're in the boys' club, that's fine. Oh, you're out of it. We do not understand you, and we're going to make you, the scapegoat for everything.
It's just a double standard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awful.
Also, it's just like trans men. Taryn, you mentioned about trans men. Like, there are so many trans men that I know and have seen, but I wouldn't know that they were trans men unless they spoke to me. It's the same with trans women. There are so many trans women out there. Often it's just like our voices or something that gives us away or whatever. But it's this idea, I mean, in the trans community, there's this idea of passing, and it's actually really toxic because there's a whole strand of trans medicalism out there that's really not helpful. And, there are trans women out there who, and trans people who are like, oh, you just shut up, just go and get your go and get a breast augmentation, go and get bottom surgery and you'll be fine. And it's just like,
not that easy.
No, you've got to fight for you. You've got to fight. Yeah, it'd be nice to have all of that, but it costs money. Some people don't want it, and also, like, again, going back to that, some people don't want it. It's that conformity again. Well, in the same way that you identified, from a young age, you were sharing your story about, that there are people on the other side who decide that they just want to be gender fluid, or they want to and they want to explore. And I've had so many friends in my group. Most of us have become trans. The rest of the group have maybe just decided that they want to be gender fluid, or they're just exploring. They're just femme presenting on weekends or something.
Yeah,
and all of those things are okay.
So powerful. That's so powerful.
It almost feels like when the kind of heteronormative world get their heads around trans things, they're like, oh, okay, right, I can only accept it if they go and have a full surgery here and a full surgery there, and if they do all these things, right? But it's like, that person is still just as valid before they've had all that shit, and they might not even want that shit. Are you saying that, why are you determining some random if that person can call themselves whatever they bloody want? You're like, let them be, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean?
Can I just weigh in on that as well? Like, in my understanding of everything as well, like, surgery is not fucking pleasant. It's not like the be all and end all, and it's not just going to turn you into like this gender or that gender. There's a lot of complications that come with it, and also like it's like the most sensitive part of your body as well. Like it is an experimental surgery, and there's still no real actual fundamental way of doing it and doing it correctly and doing it like with the biggest amount of success, and it's always going to come with complications. So
why should somebody have to risk their life just to be themselves?
Exactly. And why can't we just accept people for how they are? Like it's not a big deal. Like, well, why is everyone so worried about what's between people's legs? For fuck's sake, can we get over it?
And that's what it comes down to. Random people caring too much about what's in between other people's legs or what they're getting up to after dark. Does it really matter?
It's a little bit perverted, isn't it?
It's consensual. Who cares?
Exactly.
But with trans men as well, like you were saying, like phalloplasties. So if you're going to get that is really, really. So the other way, I think has, and now obviously that I'm not fully aware of this, but from my experience of talking to people, like there are so many steps you have to go through to get that, and it's a really, but for a trans woman and those people that are looking to get like a vaginoplasty, it's very complicated as well. My friend has just had one, and they are in pain. They are going to be not going to be able to walk for about a week because they can't, and they can't do strenuous activity for about a month or two. And like this is the stuff that I'm thinking about when I'm planning my own journey. And also, you don't necessarily get feeling back in that space for about 6 months. Well, and there's a very slim chance
if you do it all.
There's a very slim chance, yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut over you then.
No, you carry on. It's okay.
I'm saying if you do it all, at the end of the day, like you are having surgery and things can get lost and things like that. You know what I mean? Like you could have the best surgeon in the world and they could be having an off day. At the end of the day, like my thoughts of like getting surgery for anything is like, oh my God, I would rather not. But if you're going to do it for something that's going to if you really need to do that within yourself to like, you know, feel that the gender that your brain is, you know what I mean? It's obviously go ahead and do it, but there's always going to be risks and there's always going to be factors that's involved, and it's going to affect your quality of life regardless, you know? And it's such a massive decision to make. And a lot of people don't talk about like the post-op situation. In my experience, anyway, the post-op situation. You know, like, is it all good? You know, it is very experimental, and it scares me a little bit from that perspective, because, you know, you can feel like you're in the best hands, and you are in the best hands, like of the people who are doing it. But it can be, it's still, there's always going to be risks involved, and it is essentially like one of the most sensitive parts of your body as well. So a lot of people just forget about these things, you know, and it's really, really important.
It's a big decision, and society, the wider society, needs to realise if someone has decided not to take that, or is still thinking about that, or delaying that, or whatever, that is very much their right. It's very much their choice, and they're very much who they bloody say they are. Please respect that regardless.
Exactly, thank you.
Can you imagine the uproar if straight cis men had to have some sort of surgery to prove their manlyhood? Oh my God, the world wouldn't accept it. So why should someone who's trans have to have a surgery to prove that they are who they say they are, when straight people, male or female, quite honestly, don't have to have some sort of surgery to prove that they are who they say they are? It's just accepted.
Sorry, go on.
Were you just going to say something? It might be related to what you were going to say.
Make vasectomies mandatory, because then we don't have to have abortions.
Yes.
Sorry, not sorry.
Lucy, was that what you were going to say?
No, actually, I thought you were going to say, I was going to talk about gender affirming surgery, and that's that, like, men think that, so what you were saying, Katie, right? So men do get surgeries to prove how manly they are, and one of them is they get hair
transplants,
like just hairline lowering.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll get hair transplants. They'll get chin chiseling.
Yep.
Like they'll get their chin cut. Sometimes
a brow lift as well.
Yeah, brow lifts, pec implants. That's gender affirming surgery.
Yep.
That is what gender affirming surgery is.
Yeah. And what it also is, the notion that you have to have surgeries in general to look more masculine, to feel more macho, is toxic masculinity. It affects everyone, even men.
Yes.
And that's the point I think people often miss, isn't it? Like, it subconsciously, even the way that the world has been for so long, you know, you're not good enough if you're not manly enough, you're not this, you're not that. And it, you know, definitely negatively impacts cis men as well as them perpetuating it half the time.
It impacts everyone. That's the point.
Not all masc lesbians are toxic.
Absolutely
Hi.
not all masc
Hello.
lesbians. And also,
Us femmes wouldn't be friends or in a relationship with toxic mascs. So
I have no masc friends. I have zero masc friends.
Also, femmes can be toxic too.
Wow.
Are you surprised by that, Taryn?
She's surprised that you're saying she's not your mate.
Wow.
She's surprised that you basically said she's not your mate.
Blocking you now.
Please do hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss the episode next time. And if you really liked it, please do tell your queer mates. You can even tell your favourite straight ally if you want, and we won't judge. Please do send us your stories, dilemmas, hot takes. You can find us at the socials listed in the description below. Until then, stay gay, stay chaotic, and we'll see you next time.